Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan, and then they just get a different set of papers, and they come here and they get whatever they get whatever they want, right? So I mean, eh, I look, it, I think the measures at work. What the problem that we have is that a lot of us tend to think in terms of what works with modern westernized nations, and when you're dealing with the Middle East, it just doesn't work that way, right?
It's an entirely different culture that things.
Yeah, it's just a really
that
difficult.
things don't. It lost in translation is the easiest way to describe it.
So, I mean, Seth Spence. I don't necessarily agree with this. I actually think the U.S. should be unchained. Canada should be unchained to produce the oil that we can for ourselves, and that would cripple, just to a large degree, that would cripple
Yeah,
uh,
if we
the
stop
Middle East.
buying
Now,
it, for sure.
granted, now Russia's doesn't Russia's not selling oil to China as much, so China is OPEC's biggest customer, and so certainly I'm sure the Chinese don't care at all about buying Iranian oil. That's totally fine for them. And
Just point of order. Just Russia was more about they're giant in natural gas. That's what they sell to everybody.
yeah, that's true, but Siberia and
Siberia's got a whole that's what China wants. They want to get
Mongolia
the natural
supposedly has a lot of
resource out
oil.
of Siberia.
Yeah, so Mongolia, which is south, south.
It's between the two countries.
Eastern Russia, right? Like it's like the belly between and the buffer between Russia and China, and they mostly speak Russian there. So. But anyway, but at any rate, yeah, I mean, so I don't disagree with you that we should promote Saudi Arabia producing more oil so that it hurts the other. It hurts to some degree Iran and Iraq and all of the rest of that areas.
It's Mongolia on the east and Kazakhstan just a little bit to the west. Those are the two buffer countries that are between Russia and China.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And they all have oil. Right?
There's a few other little things in here and there, but those are the giant ones.
I'm sure there's a bunch
Kazakhstan
of South China
is
Sea too.
I think Kazakhstan's bigger than India, just per square foot. I think it is per square mile.
And you guys on the screen won't be able to hear it because.
What can we have here? Oh, text to speech.
I don't disagree with Mr. Boulay. Thank you for that. The reason you guys can't hear it is because it only plays to YouTube. It doesn't play to Talk Studio.
Yeah, I'm trying to work on the whole panel versus Texas. I'm working on that. If I get a solution, I'll let you know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so we're not going to carpet bomb Iran, right?
Well, we already kind of did. What did he say? Like I said, the Joint Chiefs of Staff addressed the press. He said they attacked 3 different sites. 2 of those sites got hit with 14 different bunker busters. That's about as much carpet bombing as you can get with a bunker buster in it. That's more than necessary. But what was it?
Yeah, but when you're saying carpet bombing, you're saying like at least you just
like surface bombs.
Non-intentional. At least you over civilian areas, you don't give a fuck. You're just leveling the whole place.
Yeah, that's not what we're doing.
Yeah, turn it into an entire.
This was a precision strike for sure. So. But it was suspected that only 2 were going to be necessary to take out Fardo, and they sent fucking 7 apparently, or maybe more than that.
Well, I guess there were 3 sites. What's up, Kriak? How are you, sir?
I'm good. Yourself?
Tired today, man, but I'll get over it.
Welcome in, Leprechaun, sir.
Sorry, what was that?
He said.
I think GRUMPLE was saying something about being Leprechaun. No, I've been good, great. Like I said,
welcome in.
Back into
Hang on.
There's a
am I not being?
Because I'll stop talking, and then there's there's a space, and then he starts talking.
Not. That's me being polite.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right.
That's human.
Anyway,
that's human lag. Because I'm a simple monkey, dude. Come on now.
He's eating
He's
crayons.
a simple man. He's a simple man.
I'm a simple.
But yeah,
Oh
no,
man,
like
no,
the,
don't let. We can do Simple Man if you want to do Simple Man. We can do Simple Man.
Maybe later.
no, I'm a simple man too. But yeah, this whole thing.
No, that's
with,
for
like,
my stream.
Iran-
That's not for Grid Stream. We do karaoke on Grumple Stream, not Grid Stream.
Okay.
Yeah, this whole shenanigans with Iran, like it's very. You have to be very kind of like precise in the way you're kind of like detailing it, because there'll be people who be like, "Oh, like I don't want to fucking get in a war with Iran. I don't want military troops on the ground in Iran, all this kind of shit." And it's like, yeah, like I agree with you, but no one's saying that we need to put boots on the ground in Iran. You know what I mean? These like airstrikes is all that you really need to do, because if you analyze the population of Iran, you realize that like well over 2/3 of the people of Iran want the secular state. Like they're done with this whole Islamic regime and all this kind of shit. And when you have a regime that is superstitious enough that like they don't give a fuck about prosperity or building wealth or any of that shit, Walmart generates more fucking revenue than Iran, than the whole nation of Iran. One American company. So in terms of like actually building up the area, like I see in Saudi Arabia, like there are examples in the Middle East of like areas that like that actually played ball with the West and they're thriving now. But the regimes that were the regimes that were Islamist and they only had one goal, which is to wipe Israel off the face of the map. All of them are in fucking dishevels, they're in ruins, it's basically the chickens are coming home to roost for Iran. But like I said, I support the stuff that Trump's doing, but this whole thing of like going to war with Iran or putting group troops on the ground, like no one's saying that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think anybody. I don't think anybody has. Nobody's talked about that we're going to have further involvement, right? Independent. You didn't say anything about that, right? You're pretty much like, it looks like we're going to stop here. Is that accurate? I think he may have stepped away.
I'm the one who's worried about a protracted war, and I'm still concerned about that. I mean, so the people who are beating the war drum are saying is regime change, like Teriak is talking about. Like we're gonna get the populace to overcome. That's exactly what we did in Syria. If we can work something out similar where we don't have to be fucking involved, then okay. But
so, and this is actually a good point. I kind of draw the line.
Bomb and shit. It's a different story.
Like, I understand why it was a unique opportunity to go in and put munitions on target and end that specific.
You hit your microphone cord again. Okay.
I didn't touch anything.
Oh, I
cut out
forgot
for
I was
It's back now.
Oh,
Yeah.
You can hear you now.
So again, I
That was from the
understand
service this morning.
going in and doing a precision strike, doing the
T-Bird, calm it down.
put munitions on target.
T-Bird, you got to calm that shit down. I forgot. I was
and
live
I liked
separately.
it. I think that most people
That was
should not have a
the
problem
service
with
where I was playing bass.
once we get
at
into the
church
idea of
band
talking
this
about
morning, or
regime change,
yesterday
because none of
morning
this
now
has
at this
ever
point.
worked out for us, guys.
Yeah.
We have 70 years
So,
of history where
It's
we
tomorrow
have
now.
the United States of America, has gone over there and manipulated and pushed things and pulled things, and this guy's the great guy, and now these guys are the great guys, and we've literally pissed everybody in that area off, and very few people over there really trust or like Americans at this point. I don't blame them, because at some
How you doing,
point,
T-Bird?
the United States is fucked
We're
over
having some
everybody
good
in the region.
conversations tonight.
And so
or
what
this
we really
morning
need to do
also.
is just take 10 years off. It's like when you get in a fight with your coworker. Like if EOD and I were coworkers.
Yeah, USS Liberty
and we got in a fight
intensifies.
at work, and we had an argument or whatever. I go home, he goes home, we sleep on it, we come back the next day.
And then you talk about the USS Liberty when you get back to work.
Yeah. We just-
So I heard you say like you're not an interventionist, but then you support the strikes. Interventionism is not just regime change or boots
Thanks
on
for
the
reminding
ground.
me,
It's
T-Bird.
also
That was-
doing something like that. Or,
I think it was appropriate in the time setting.
ensuring the freedom of navigation in the seas and stuff like that. So you are kind of an interventionist.
But I am on
Ah,
those shows
one.
pretty. I mean,
Two, we take
No,
10 years
I-
off, and then
No,
and then what happens because China just fills the gap?
No. I don't think the
I'll be
United
right back.
States should assure safe travel on the high seas. I think that.
Okay, but
I
you just
think
agree
that
with the
all
strikes.
Yeah, the only reason I think the strikes are okay is because it's presented a unique opportunity to reduce the capabilities of a potential enemy, and that's
Yeah.
it.
That's interventionism. That's also ensuring navigation of the seas because it allows our economic power to grow. It allows our soft power, our foreign policy soft power to grow. So there's plenty of if that's the excuse, then there's
Our
plenty of
flaccid
reasons
power?
to be supported.
Well, there's no excuse.
No, if that's the reasoning, I'm not saying excuse as in a negative thing. I'm saying like if that's the reasoning you're giving for supporting the strikes because it degrades the adversary, then the same.
That's the only reason. Well, pardon me, it's not the only reason. That is the reason that I'm okay with it. I didn't necessarily.
I got you. I'm saying yes, and if you're using that logic, that's fine. If you're okay with it, if you're not willing to fight it and the reason you're not willing to fight against it or whatever is because of the logic you're using. That same logic applies
it's a
to
logical.
I didn't say it's not. Again, I'm not attacking that it's wrong. I'm saying that you are more of an interventionist than you're saying and you would also should be willing to support or not fight against these other things because they also do the things that you're saying that the strike did, i.e. degrade our adversaries or make us stronger. But not to get bogged down on that, we take a break from the Middle East for 10 years and someone's going to fill those shoes and it'll be China.
Sure.
Which means that we are now weaker on the world stage.
See, I've heard that argument before, but I would actually enjoy the Chinese trying to work with the Middle East. That'd be fun to watch.
It wouldn't be fun to watch the U.S.
They already are, and like I just so y'all
signed on to the Belt Road Initiative.
If I may just FYI, the last that I heard, Bagram was currently under control of China. That was the last I heard. It might not be current.
It's funny to it's fun to I wonder if they'd be able to work because it's been so hard for us or whatever. Even though we've done a pretty good job, everybody just likes to look at the negative aspects. But
you're just blowing past that. Okay.
What? No, I'm just saying.
The last that I heard, Bagram Air Base, the one that the U.S. pulled out of.
Oh no, I was about to get on that
pullout ever.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I was getting to that too. So yeah, it's fun to say, look at all the negative that the U.S. has dealt with in the Middle East. It'd be funny to watch China deal with that until they're successful in dealing with it because they don't have the same goals as the U.S. does, and so they get these bases like Bagram. They're able to extend their forces elsewhere, and then when it comes time to tango, we are now in a weaker position because we let that shit happen for 10 years. And you might not be around to see it, but there's younger people that are gonna have to join up to fight that war.
Yeah, right. Okay, so. Why do you think the Chinese would be better suited to deal with the Iranians?
One, I don't need to think. Well, first of all, it wasn't just Iran; it was the Middle East. You said.
Sure.
Two, I don't need to think it. It's just a possibility, and I would rather that possibility not be tested when it doesn't have to be. And three, the reason that they might be better off is because they are not as liberal as us. The U.S. forces liberalization into a lot of the countries in exchange for funding for humanitarian aid, especially humanitarian aid. A lot of the humanitarian aid, if not all of it, is for liberal ideas. I wouldn't say bribing. It's more so you want this, we want you to pursue this. Therefore, you can get it, but it's not bribing. Bribing would be one side. In my opinion, bribing is more a one side thing. Like, hey, don't give me this ticket. I'll give you $5. Not.
But it'd be like the situation in Taiwan with the chips.
The moral of the story is that is why I think that China could be more quote unquote successful in a sense that they're not going to be pushing for liberal ideas. They're not going to be pushing for a lot of these things. They are fine with communism. They're fine with dictatorship. They're fine with all these things that the U.S. generally is not, and is willing to push for liberalization internally. But I don't think that any country generally would be successful in an area where Islam rules if it's going to go by Sharia law.
Exactly, and that's the fundamental difference.
But I don't care to take the chance either. I would prefer not to take the chance. We have a very tight grip on the Middle East right now, and I don't want to lose it.
This is very interesting. So do you consider China the biggest threat in the world?
I think that low-key Islam, radical Islam might be the biggest threat in the world. Radical religion, generally speaking, is probably the biggest threat. But if we're talking about like countries, China's up there.
Yep.
Why?
Because
Communism.
I'm just very pro-U.S. and I'm very pro-U.S. world order that it has created. And so if a country is wanting to take that away,
It's just that the us versus everybody else mentality.
I don't think it's us versus everybody else, but I do think that what they export is not what the Constitution adheres to. It's not what freedom is. And although the U.S. at times, some may even say presently, hasn't walked the line that it should, generally speaking, that is kind of what we stand for and what we stood for a very long time. And we progressed more towards those ideals, even if we haven't done them, and even if we haven't lived up to the ideals of the words of the Constitution, we have constantly strived to get closer to that, or we have gotten closer to that. And I don't think that other countries do that. Russia, and none of those other big countries do that. So if you took China, if you took the USSR, I mean, China wasn't really a thing as it is now, but after World War II, we would not be better off than what we are today.
I know, Chairman. I know, Anson's just being trolling, but this is actually a solid point. Can you give me an example where China has been aggressive outside their borders?
Yeah, literally the South China Sea.
Yeah,
They spray the Filipino fishermen all the time. They spray the Vietnamese. There literally no country around the South China Sea rocks with China. As a matter of fact, Vietnam under Biden's administration, we have I can't remember what it was. It was like a strategic, whatever they've upgraded us to is the highest we've been since the Vietnamese War, and that is on the backdrop of Chinese aggression. The Philippines started moving away from the U.S. And because of Chinese aggression, have now moved back into the sphere of the U.S. Japan is obviously in our sphere.
Hold on, I'm not familiar with. Just pretend I'm not familiar with it. So
China has been making islands to increase their, because you have sovereign territory 20 nautical miles off of your coast. China has been creating fake islands in order to increase their sovereign area.
Sure. Yeah.
India and China do not get along for reasons. Russia and China actually doesn't have any neighbors it gets along with. The U.S., on the other hand, before Trump, had multiple neighbors we got along with. Really, the only one we didn't really get along with was Cuba.
We still have neighbors we get along with, buddy.
No, I'm just saying. But I'm just saying we were
am I getting at?
even under
China
Trump we have. So
China
has neighbors it gets along with.
China does want to support Russia in the Ukraine war. They have supported Russia in the Ukraine war. They have pledged support for Iran and this current conflict against the United States. So is Russia. So I mean, we're sitting here saying, "Oh, they're not going to get involved. They're not going to get involved." When the rhetoric is saying the exact opposite of what you all are saying.
Well, them saying that they support doesn't mean they're going to get involved.
Well, I mean,
they've already sent supplies to Iran, as far as I'm aware.
Usually in material.
Sending humanitarian aid is different than sending air defense systems or aircraft that would get bombed anyway. They're not going to send aircraft to Iran because Israel would just bomb them. It's just
all
a
that
fact.
much different?
You send fighters to Iran before they can even make it off the ground. The F-35 has destroyed them.
Yeah.
It makes zero sense. Why would they send billions of dollars in aid that they know is going to be destroyed? Because Iran doesn't have any air defense systems right now.
Well, I mean, if you're going to do that, it's to make it targets for F-35s to get kills, because otherwise they wouldn't get any.
But real talk, like, what is the threat from Iran here?
Well,
as an American, what is the threat that you're worried about? Because again, this was a stealth mission, stealth bomb the shit, and even that American done it. Like, Iran's already in a situation where they have to go through Israel before they can even get to America.
Iran calls America the Great Satan that they want to nuke. Just
are you saying that? Are you asking what is the threat of Iran, generally speaking, or specifically why do we use the stealth mission and all the capabilities that we used during that bombing mission?
No, like, given the fact that you've done the operation, you've done the stealth bomber, what is the threat? Because everyone's like trying to like panic me into thinking that like America's going to get dragged into war, but how are you going to get dragged into war in this situation? I don't understand.
Okay, I'll tell you what the threat is. The threat is that, number one, like I just said, Russia, China pledged defenses. The Turkish Navy deployed out into the Mediterranean Sea to stand toe-to-toe with the Gerald Ford strike group. That's not good. This is a rise in tensions. And if it comes to the conclusion that our strike was ineffective or did not completely eradicate Iran's ability to produce nuclear weapons, we're going to have to go in with something that's more, hands-on, I'm afraid, in order to accomplish the task at hand that they're trying to accomplish, which is, again, supposedly to stop something from happening that we haven't seen the evidence that it's happening. Iran does not have the payload
when do you stop them? When you see the nuke, or before you see the nuke?
Yeah, when we see them developing a weapon that's capable of carrying that munition. Yeah.
I like this random independent guy.
Why do you need an aircraft capable of carrying the nuke instead of just having the nuke?
Not the aircraft, not a missile. Okay, any kind of munition, any kind of munition,
a warhead or whatever. The issue is that they're developing in the first place. I don't understand how you go from we should wait until they have the capability to actually nuke somebody to stop them. At that point, you're not stopping them from developing a nuke. They've already developed a nuke, and now you're in bigger trouble because if you don't destroy it, they have that nuke and they'll just walk it across our border and blow people up.
Exactly.
So I guess that's my issue with people that say, or the logic behind it is just like, at what point do you find? Because you're saying we should stop. We should do anything. We should do everything we can to stop Iran from having the nuke. But then you switched it now to, well, even if they have the nuke, it's okay because they don't have a warhead or they don't have anything to put it on. And
that's
so
the nuke. The nuke is the missile with the warhead on.
Kind of a stupid argument.
I get what EOD. I get what you're trying to say, right?
Okay.
Like, because of this action, things have stepped up in the region, and they could continue to escalate. I get it.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see how it plays out, right? Like, I personally think it ends badly for Iran if they continue to escalate. Just even with standoff weapons, right? My concern, right, is my biggest concern is I don't want to have to continuously deal with the Middle East. I would rather just get out of the area, leave it alone. I understand everybody's like, well, China will move in. Fine. Let China move in. If China can pacify the region, great. If they get their asses kicked for 70 years like we did, we will. Well, you should have learned your lesson watching us, right? If it works for them, fucking great. I'm not scared. It's like the Cold War with Russia, right? I grew up in the Cold War with Russia, and everything was Russia's going to launch bombs. They're spinning up missiles in silos, right? I watched all the fucking Firefox and all of these movies about the great Russian threat that never fucking happened, right? And so
yeah,
I have a massive amount of doubt about China being the next boogeyman. First of all, I don't believe in the boogeyman. I'm tired of hearing about the boogeyman. I just don't give a fuck about the boogeyman. China, they're trying, obviously, China's the new boogeyman, right? Russia's ineffective. Russia can't even fight its way through Ukraine, right? Like, that's embarrassing. And so now it's China. China's the new guy, right? And we're supposed to be afraid of the Chinese wanting to take over the world. I mean, a lot of people would say economically they already have, and you're already fucked. So just just start learning Mandarin.
Yeah, but Grid, if I ask you this,
is your argument that you just want to lay down?
If the question is this, though, Grid,
really arguing, I'm just making a satirical.
Yeah, is that what that argument? It's just an argument. That's literally what argument is. Is your argument, is your side of the position that you should just lay down and take it because people buy stuff from them?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so what? I guess I'm still confused because
I'm saying
my side of the aisle, or at least my argument, is that we prevent our. First of all, I don't think anybody's argument is that China is taking over the world. I don't think that's the argument. It's more of a world order, U.S.-based world order thing than anything. But I think my side of it is we prevent our influence from waning. We keep our soft and hard power strong to prevent the ability of the worst case scenario from happening. And it sounds like what you're saying is
been able to prevent that, though.
We have done plenty to prevent that. That's why Russia is who it is. That's why they failed in Ukraine, is because we prevented them.
The reason they failed in Ukraine.
I don't know if you're talking EOD, but you're muted.
50 years they've spent every dime they could on nuclear, or not nuclear, but also nuclear technology, but trying to increase the military that they couldn't even afford. Like, I mean,
you're talking about Russia?
Yeah, Russia.
Yeah. Russia failed because Russia failed because of the support given to Ukraine.
Russia.
It's not because they didn't buy enough stuff.
No, that's bullshit. They're winning.
So Ukraine would exist. You think Ukraine would exist today You think Ukraine would exist today, as it currently stands, without U.S. support?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, so we're
We should
saying
be
the same
supporting
thing.
them as much as we are.
We should be, but we're saying the same thing.
Why
We actually should be supporting them more.
Why?
I just said why. It's going to fall under the world order thing. I don't have to keep on reiterating it.
But,
The U.S. Russia is an adversary. Putin wants to bring back the USSR. That is his goal. He stated it on multiple occasions.
Yeah, but I mean,
so the worst thing.
Yeah, and I can say I want to fucking.
So you can, and when you start making
No,
moves
that's
towards
that,
doing
you
what
know,
you say,
the USSR thing is out of context.
it's not out of
First of all,
context. That it's out of context so much that he keeps on invading countries that were previous Soviet Union countries. That's how out of context it is. So going back to what I was saying, you can say all you want, Greg, but that doesn't change
name
the
these
fact that when
countries. Name these countries that he's invaded.
Georgia,
Is
Ukraine,
Georgia still a nation? Georgia's still a nation.
Georgia, Ukraine. Did he invade them? Yes or no?
Ukraine is still a nation.
Did he invade them? Yes or no?
He tried to install his puppet after the Americans put their puppet in. Yeah, so he put the military in there, but they're still independent sovereign nations.
Okay, thank you.
They're still independent
going
sovereign
back
nations.
to what you were saying, Grid. It doesn't matter whether you say what you want to say.
What's going back to what you're saying? You're wrong. You're wrong
That's
about
fine.
the Putin situation.
Sure, I'm wrong about that specific situation. If you want to say,
No, look,
I'm not. But
I
we
do
can agree
believe
to disagree. So
You're
Grid,
wrong about
to what you were
Putin's whole
saying.
goal here to invade and all shit.
That's fine. It's just so funny. It's funny that he invaded Ukraine. He invaded Georgia. There's another country I can't think of right now. And then when Belarus or whoever it was,
the whole
put
shit
out
went down to Ukraine
and
is
then-
because
and then-
because
and then they
Americans
released-
are putting nukes on his border.
And then they release the photo op, and it's showing them also wanting to invade Moldova. So it's just funny how everything seems to line up with the same rhetoric that he's been spewing about the USSR. But of course, it's taken out of context.
When you understand the populations, you understand that a lot of those areas are heavily ethnically Russian,
That doesn't mean anything.
and they would prefer to be back in Russia. When you talk to those people,
actually, if you look at the polling prior to, which is why they invaded Crimea and installed their own guy. Because if you look at the polling beforehand, it wasn't that they wanted to be part of Russia. They also didn't want to be part of Ukraine. They wanted to be their own sovereign nation.
There are large blocks of population that would prefer to be Russia.
You just said, there's
and,
large blocks.
And when Ukraine war broke out, a large population of Ukrainians defected to Russia.
We can give that example. Ukraine, Crimea, during the polling prior to the annexation and stuff, they did not want to be part of Russia. They wanted to be an independent nation. So don't bring up that bullshit, that fucking Putin bullshit Russian.
That there are large populations in Eastern Europe that prefer to be part of Russia.
Because it's wrong. It's just flat out wrong. And even if they did want to be part of Russia, it's irrelevant because that's not how the world works. Where I'm going to become a separate.
I'm just stating the fact that there are large swaths of population in Eastern Europe.
I understand you're regurgitating Russian propaganda, and it's irrelevant because again, the polling taken prior.
It's not irrelevant.
The polling taken. Yes, it is because
the reason why we've gone down here is because
they didn't want to be part of Russia. They wanted to be their own independent nation.
Oh my God! When both of you fucking talking, I can't hear either one of you sons of bitches.
The reason why that quote was taken out of context. The reason why that.
Which quote? What is my quote? And when was it?
That Putin wants to restore the USSR.
What is the quote?
That's why we went down this rabbit hole.
Okay, what is the quote and when was it said?
That's often taken out of context because what he's often talking about in those interviews is about the USSR, yes, and he's saying that it's a shame that it fell, but he's not a communist. He doesn't stand for the same ideals for USSR, but he wants Russia to be.
I'm not saying he wants to bring back communism. I'm talking about he wants to bring back empire.
He's very proud. He's very proud of the Russian heritage, their history. That's why he blabbed on for like an hour.
Let him fucking finish what the fuck he's saying, brother.
That's why
he interrupted me when I was talking, and now you're telling me to let him finish.
Yeah,
I was talking to Grid 1, and he interrupted me to talk about how I'm wrong about Putin.
Yeah, this whole thing, like,
don't tell me to let the dude talk when he's sitting here regurgitating Russian propaganda
points. It's the same thing.
It doesn't matter if he's regurgitating fucking commie fucking points.
The reason why I called,
then you finish. What the fuck?
To be clear, the reason
why should I let a dude that interrupted me finish?
Yeah. Start muting. Okay, so please.
So the reason why I'm calling this out is because it's the same thing.
And then tell me to let someone else finish after they interrupt me.
Yeah, it's the same thing that Grid was talking about, like where China's the boogeyman. It's this whole thing of like Putin's the boogeyman. This is like a Democrat talking point. He wants to restore. He wants to bring the USSR back. He doesn't want to bring the USSR back. He wants Russia to be as glorious as it once was and all this kind of shit. But this whole nonsense that he's basically gonna like fucking take all of Europe. That is the fear porn. That's propaganda. That's all I'm saying. That's the quote unquote disagreement here.
Yes, thank you for regurgitating the Russian. Thank you for interrupting me to regurgitate Russian propaganda. So we can look at their actions. We don't need to look at just the words, and we see them invading their neighboring countries on multiple occasions.
Okay.
And nobody's talking about them bringing back communism. It was about bringing it back geographically, the USSR, as much as they could, which is why we also saw them with the photo op of also invading Moldova, not just Transnistria or whatever that little section is, but Moldova itself. Just so happens to be an ex-USSR country. And it's why all the ex-USSR countries are building up their militaries as well, because they recognize a threat. And it's obviously, someone sitting not in one of those countries and not having to deal with that. It's always nice and comfortable to say, oh, that's not actually what's going to happen, because you don't actually have to deal with it if it did happen. But those countries
Europe's not forming an army.
Scotland or Ireland or wherever you're from, it's irrelevant. It's an irrelevant country.
Yeah. So I understand the history.
Your accent dictates that you live in an irrelevant country.
I understand the history. That's the difference. But the main reason why Putin's been so aggressive on the border is because of NATO.
Yes, of course.
The same way. Remember the Cuban Missile Crisis? Remember the way that America was going to start another world war because Russia was going to put nukes in or missiles in Cuba, and you were like, that ain't happening. Basically, that's what Russia is doing. It's the same thing. Essentially, same scenario.
What nukes
so Russia's saying,
what nukes were in Georgia?
Ukraine is not forming NATO. Is not becoming part of NATO. Russia's putting his foot down. And America said, Biden said, fuck that, we'll do what we want. And then Russia said, okay, fuck that, we're taking the country back.
Okay, so what nukes were in Georgia?
So that's basically the Ukraine war.
What nukes were in Georgia?
What?
What
nukes Ukraine.
Were in Georgia?
We're talking about Ukraine.
No, I'm talking about all the...
Can you stick on the point? Can we stick on the point? Or you just want to keep...
talking about all the... If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
He does need help. He does need help, so maybe you can't help.
I do actually want to ask a random independent a question, because it was something that was brought up, and I think this is something that I think you understand. I'm not 100% sure, but so Putin's policies aren't communist, and
that's not my.
And he's not really trying to reestablish the USSR as so much as he wants. Again, I think Russia, I don't know how he's phrased it because I don't speak Russian and I don't trust the translations. So, but it is something similar to what Teriak said. So I have a question. Do you think the war in Ukraine, which was mostly started because of the denial of Russia to its historic all-season port, which is the only one that Russia has access to, by the Ukraine, who were emboldened, I believe that Zelensky was emboldened by or assured by the U.S. that we would back him up, and the idea that he was going to be part of NATO and that there would be weaponry forthcoming. I believe that Zelensky was emboldened by that, and so when Putin said, and I don't know if you remember this. When Putin said, if you block our access to this port, you continue to charge and tax our people for use of our ancestral port, we'll go to war. And then then what did he do? He put tanks on the border. And Zelensky could have at any point said, you know what? Let's come back to the table. This is the same thing that happened with Crimea. Let's just get back to the table. We'll work something out on this. Putin did not demand that the port be part of Russia again. He didn't talk about seizing it. He didn't talk about conquering Ukraine. Initially, all he wanted was access to Russia's port, which is important to them because it's the only port that they have where they can receive shipments through all year, right? Because I don't know, it's very cold up there, and the other ports get iced up or whatever the fuck. I don't know. I don't live in Russia, but so with that, do you remember all of that, or are you just remembering the rhetoric that Putin put his tanks and said, "We're going to invade you if you don't do this"?
Actually, he never said that. He was very adamant up until the day of. Even actually during the invasion, he was adamant. I don't even know if he's called it an invasion yet. That wasn't going to happen. It was just an exercise. So it wasn't the rhetoric that I'm remembering. It's facts.
Okay, so then real quick.
That's one. God. Oh, you want to interrupt again? Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick. What's your
I'm
take
not
on
gonna respond.
yeah?
Go ahead.
What's your take on the peace talks that was interrupted with what Boris Johnson sent over by Biden to make sure that peace wouldn't be signed? Because there was a deal. There was a deal that was on the table.
No,
Russia was ready to sign it.
He can't wait to. No, let him get it out. He can't wait to get it off his chest.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I really want to hear what he had to say, Terry. So let him finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we'll come back to the.
You sure you guys don't want to hear him talk over me a little bit more?
No, dude, we can all be polite here. Terry X, he just had a
we're all
question.
men.
Yeah, he just had a question, so it's okay.
I mean, being a man has nothing to do with being polite. Where was I? The port thing. Yeah, that's one very one-sided perspective for sure. There's a reason that none of Russia's neighbors like them, and it's not because of anything other than they're just dickheads, and they know what Putin wants. And it's funny, again, to be in the countries that don't have to put up with that, while the citizens of those countries do know what he is after, and which is why they keep on building up their militaries, and which is why they want someone like the U.S. to protect them, because without that security guarantee, then they have no protection, which is why they constantly join NATO, why they want to join NATO, why they want to join the EU, because they want those security guarantees, because they know what Russia is capable, what Putin specifically wants to do. And so again, it's we're sitting in our chairs in the U.S. or in Ireland or wherever dude is from, being comfortable and whatnot, and saying, "Oh no, he doesn't actually want to do this." While actually people have to live in fear. While people actually have to live in fear, and because he's constantly invaded his neighbors, repeatedly repeatedly. And of course, again, you got someone like Teriak who takes the blame away from him and says, "Oh, it's because of this external being. That's why he just had to do it."
No, I'm just holding both sides accountable.
And again, we can look at the memorandums, and the facts will show that Teriak is wrong. The people actually voted out. The people actually voted out Putin's stooge, and that's when everything went down.
That's not, okay. So that's not what happened. The CIA influenced the election that put Zelensky in place. It's a plant for somebody that's actually more aligned with American interests and more aligned with joining NATO in the first place.
You would think that Russia does not have a CIA equivalent doing the same thing. It's just so funny. It's just so funny when it's the U.S.
And yet here you are.
When it's the U.S. When it's the U.S.
Let me finish what the fuck I'm saying.
When it's the U.S., it's always the CIA did this. It's not the people that want this. But then when Russia does it, it's somehow the people want this.
No, because I can give you an example. I can give you an example.
In order to lean Ukraine back towards NATO in a way that played into the West's hand to try to move NATO further and further east. Since Gorbachev brought down the wall, the United States has moved NATO further and further east, year after year after year after year. Even just recently, what was it? Finland joined NATO. They've been pushing for Ukraine to join NATO, even though on one hand, you'll see Joe Biden say on one hand, "Oh no, we never wanted Ukraine to join NATO," and then on the other hand, it's, "Well, if Ukraine wants to join NATO, then we would totally back that decision." This kind of shit. Not only putting military assets on the ground and fueling this war against Russia in Ukraine, instead of keeping our fucking nose out of it like we should have in the first place, which is the real non-interventionist standard to have. But Russia, this whole fucking thing is a response to Western aggression in the first damn place. And if you can't see that, then you've absolutely ignored any amount of history in the past.
Yeah, it's funny because you would expect, again, one-sided thing, also some conspiracy, or I shouldn't say conspiracy, but very unsettled history regarding the "we won't move further east" blah 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 talk that was never substantiated by even Gorbachev himself, if I remember correctly, came out and stated that was never an agreement. Goddamn, keep going, Teriak. What do you want to say since it's so important?
Because you basically just hand waved and said it's conspiracy theory, all this kind of shit.
I just said it. It's unsettled history. I corrected myself after that. Maybe if you were listening.
Okay. So then we can talk about something more recent.
Again,
can we talk about
what I was saying? Yeah, we are. So going back to Ukraine. Russia invaded them because NATO, they were going to join NATO. I wonder why they wanted to join. You see how they just completely ignore that part? I wonder why these neighboring countries want security guarantees so bad. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because the neighboring countries keep on getting invaded. So maybe we should look at it as, Russia keeps on invading its neighbors. That's why their neighboring countries want to join NATO in the first place.
Yeah, so answer me this. Can you just answer me this quick question? Because 2 months into the war, over 3 years ago, there was talks for peace, and Putin has said multiple times, and everybody involved in the situation, this is no secret, right? So this is not conspiracy theory. There was talks for peace.
Let's pull it up.
And and yeah, pull it. I don't know, great if you want to pull it up. Yeah, like you can just like Google just basically Google the was it peace talks in March and April of 2022.
No,
right?
not 2022. We're going back to 2014 when they invaded Crimea. When he violated the Budapest memorandum. Yes,
what I'm talking about is in terms of there was
we'll do both.
A peace deal on the table. All Ukraine had to do was sign the peace deal. And
what was the peace deal? What did the peace deal consist of?
Apparently, what?
What did the peace deal consist of? What did the peace deal? I don't care. Yeah, that's great.
It would have ended the war.
Ukraine had to give up everything, but it would have ended the war. What did the peace deal consist of?
So there was a peace deal that even Zelensky himself was going to sign, and Boris Johnson had to come over.
You're not answering the question. What did the peace deal consist of?
Yeah, what I'm talking about, it was good enough that Zelensky himself wanted to sign it.
What did the peace deal consist of? No, it's not. What did the peace deal consist of?
Okay, what do you want in the deal?
Huh?
Outline what you want to see in this deal.
One more time.
Outline what you want to see in this deal.
Oh, outline. No, I just want you, because you're talking about the deal. I want you to tell us what the deal consists of.
What I'm replying to with this. Why does this matter? If Zelensky himself wanted to sign
because you brought. I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
Because you're saying.
If the leader of Ukraine thought it was a good deal, that surely should be good enough for you. But you're trying to impose this impossible standard.
Seriously, no, I want you to tell us what the deal was.
What you're trying to do is you're trying to avoid the question. You're trying to avoid where this question goes down. Because because it's my question. Remember, this is my question. What I'm asking is, why did Boris Johnson shut that down? Why did Boris Johnson shut that down? Why did Biden?
How many times I gotta say pull it up?
Yeah. Why did Biden shut down?
Talk about some shit that you don't actually know what you're talking about.
If there was peace going to East,
I want to see what the deal actually was.
I'm asking you a question. No, because you're trying to deflect from the question.
I'm not deflecting.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can't answer the question. You're talking about conspiracy theories, but you can't answer the question because peace was on the table. Peace was on the table. And the West said no.
Pull it up.
The West is the reason why this war has continued for an additional 3 years.
We don't care about your
This is 2025. This is 2025.
Can you pull it up? Yes or no?
This is 2025.
Yes or no?
I can
yes or no?
I'm saying Grid's the host. I don't understand what I can pull it up.
You can share your screen and pull it up. Can you pull it up? If not, shut the fuck up.
Okay. Let's go.
Okay, thank you. Pull it up, and don't be some third eye YouTube page. Bring it up, actual source.
Yeah. Here we go. So this is Grok. This is Grok. Give me the key details,
dude. Yeah. I don't care about Grok.
Okay, so
Associated Press article. Associated Press.
Associated Press? Are you for fucking real? What are you talking about, Associated Press? Unless Associated Press has an article, you're not going to accept this information. My question is, why did Boris Johnson interrupt this deal?
Okay, well, we got some silence.
Exactly.
Cat, good to see you in the chat. Gentlemen, we have to do, first of all, I only have a few minutes left. Thank you for pulling that up for me, Teriak. But
I can't stand it, Kissy Cat.
One of the interesting things that nobody's covered yet is Putin has always had access to nukes, even battlefield nukes, low yield. And you know what he hasn't done? He hasn't used them.
Never used them.
And so that's an interesting observation. I don't know what to read into that. I'm sure that it means something. But the interesting thing that I have, one of the interesting things is, I never thought we should have gotten involved in the Ukraine war. I still think we're wrong to be in the Ukraine war.
You've prolonged it.
I think
okay, great. So I think they're ask you something real quick.
Criminals, right? I think Putin's a criminal in various ways, and I think that he's not a particular. I wouldn't want him for a neighbor. But it does look like he genuinely cares for his country and wants to do good stuff.
On
the other side of that, Zelensky's a criminal. He should be in jail at some point. Hopefully, he will be. And the fact that the fact that our tax dollars have supported that criminal offends me on a level I can't even get to.
You voted for Trump.
It doesn't matter who I voted for. I just literally.
I'm just confused about when you draw the line at supporting. It's not because it's not illogical. I'm wondering, when do you draw the line at supporting criminals?
Shut the fuck up and let the dude who owns the channel.
When do you draw the line at supporting criminals?
And then he complains about getting interrupted, and he's interrupted.
I'm complaining. No, I only talk about getting interrupted when you guys complain about it.
Complete hypocrite.
I don't mind interruptions because I do it. I don't mind. And bitch about me interrupting you or continue to talk.
You constantly complain about interrupted. Yeah,
so
and then
here's the
interrupting the host.
here's the thing. I never wanted to be in the Ukraine war. I don't like the idea of the Ukraine war. Ever since day one, I said Ukraine war was a bad plan, a bad idea. My buddy from Ukraine actually initially supported the war. And then as time went on, you know what? He's like, no, Zelensky's a fucking criminal. Of course, he's also super anti-Israel right now, too. So he'll probably change his mind on that soon. But he's very all over the place. But again,
Shalom.
Sorry?
Shalom.
Yeah. Politically, he's very all over the place. Do I have a silver bullet for this? No, I do not. I got to be honest. I don't like. I would have just. I don't understand why it's our fucking problem. And this geopolitical bullshit of world power. We can be a superpower and not have to leave our borders. We don't have to do anything. There's nothing anyone can put up in the air that we can't knock down. There's not a ship on the sea we can't sink. And there's literally like nothing we can't turn into a parking lot. So that's the most force projection that I feel like we need. Now you can talk about boots on the ground here and we should back these guys there. No, we backed a criminal. We legit backed a criminal in Zelensky. And you can say, well, it's better.
I thought you were talking about the president.
Putin, but I don't care. They're both criminals. Why do I have to pick a side?
What? So I'm still confused about what. I guess you said so much wrong and kind of hypocritical.
I didn't say anything.
It's tough for me to focus on.
I didn't say anything.
What is your ideal, or what is your path forward? What is your plan to keep U.S. dictated world order? Because to me, it sounds like everything.
I don't believe in a world order. That's the problem.
You're an
interventionist. You believe in a world order. Your problem is that you're projecting on everybody else that this idea that there's a world order that we must participate in. I don't believe that. I believe in pre-1918 when we were arguably at our best and most formidable.
We weren't even close to our best.
Arguably. Our bet. Well, actually, let's go to 1930, when literally we were isolationists. FDR had to basically allow Americans to be killed to get us into World War II. Nobody in this country wanted to do anything but supply stuff, and we were still the greatest nation on the planet. Everybody knew that. That's why they all came to us for help. We didn't have to do a damn thing outside our borders.
We were literally in a Great Depression. For one thing, I don't know what you mean by the greatest nation on the planet. I'm not sure what we were ranked number one at.
Was greater at the time.
Well, I always find, because the U.S. has the Constitution, that we are going to be the greatest nation. I'm just confused about how you're describing the U.S. as the greatest nation at that time.
The entire world was having economic problems. That's why World War II happened to start with.
No, that's not why it happened. Though it could have been a contributing factor. Sure.
Wait, hold on. Why do you think Hitler invaded Poland?
Are we just starting at Poland, or what about these other countries? It doesn't matter. Going back to what I was asking. So you don't believe in a world order. You think the U.S. should just stick to itself and only itself?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. So you don't think trade?
I debated Teriak on that very thing.
I don't know who Teriak is.
The guy.
I'm the leprechaun. The leprechaun in the bottom right corner.
So you don't think that trade makes the U.S. better?
I'm sorry, my son's mowing lawn right outside. Whatever you just said, I didn't hear it. I apologize.
Okay, so can you define, or just kind of elaborate a little bit more on your vision of isolationism?
So I'm a non-interventionist. So
is it only foreign policy, or is it also other things? Is I guess what I was trying
mostly,
to get at.
So I believe that we should participate in foreign policy only as far as it pertains to trade and immigration. We should not participate in protecting other countries' navy or ships, intercontinental shipping, at the cost of American taxpayers and American lives. If England wants to transship shit, let them build a navy again, right? Like, I just don't give or hire privateers. Whatever. I don't care.
Okay.
As far as as far as our borders are concerned, I mean, we need to secure them 100%. And we need to bring our troops home, and we need to stop having our young men die on foreign soil for fucking nothing.
Okay. I'm not quite sure who died for nothing, but so
70 years of war in the desert, what have we accomplished?
It hasn't been 70 years.
Zero. They still hate us.
We've accomplished pretty.
What did we accomplish?
The Iranian people love America, by the way.
Generally speaking, they love our cultures and stuff.
Yeah.
The Iran, or not Iran. Are you talking about boots on the ground and just our foreign policy in the Middle East in general?
I'm asking you, after 70 years of Americans dying in the Middle East.
Okay, so boots on the ground. It hasn't been 70 years, but
it has been 70 years, since 1950.
But when did we have boots on the ground in 1950 in the Middle East?
We sent people over. We assassinated the leader, and
boots on the ground usually means the military.
And then we sent the military in behind them.
Okay, so which country are you talking about that we had military boots on the ground in the 50s? Like, which country did we invade in the 50s with our military that you were?
We didn't. Did I say invade?
That's what boots on the ground means. Colloquial speaking, that's what boots on the ground means.
We were involved in several conflicts in the Middle East.
That's why I asked if you're talking about boots on the ground or if you're talking about our foreign policy in general, because those are two separate things in my eyes.
Several conflicts coming to a head in the 1970s, but starting as far back as 1951, 52.
Fuck. Sorry.
Okay, so anyway, going.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm listening.
Oh, my bad. I think we've accomplished a lot. We've secured the Middle East, essentially. Pakistan, as much of a shitty... Yeah, a little bit. Pakistan, as much of a shitty...
What part of the Middle East is secure? I have people in Iran right now.
No, we have secured the Middle East as in it's our sphere of influence.
Bullshit.
Okay.
That's the most bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
It's about to be though.
Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar,
Saudi Arabia only
UAE,
deals with us because we give them billions of dollars
Egypt.
a year.
Yes, so thank you for proving my. Continue to prove my point for me.
If Iran becomes secular nation, like if this Operation Rising Lion succeeds, then yes, the Middle East is then settled.
Yes, and you're wrong with the Russian propaganda, but I think we are kind of.
It will be, but it's not currently. It's quite unstable at the moment.
I disagree. Agree to disagree. I kind of disagree on that. I think that there's a couple of countries that are, obviously the ones that are most influenced by Iran, i.e. Afghanistan, or at least the terrorist proxies in them. So Iraq is kind of sort of. I mean, it's kind of. Iraq isn't really a country anymore. You got the Kurdistan, essentially Kurds in the north, which is very secure for the U.S. Then you got
even looking beyond states, you can see all kinds of rebel groups like the Houthis and the Hezbollah.
Yeah, that's not the Middle East. Hezbollah's gone. And also was only in southern Lebanon, but Jordan. So let's count. Well, I don't know what we're considering the Middle East.
Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, the Taliban.
Is not there anymore. Al-Qaeda is not, and Al-Qaeda and Taliban are two separate things. But I don't know what we are considering the Middle East. Some would consider Pakistan the Middle East, some wouldn't. Saudi Arabia, going down a little bit. So we can count. I'm just going to do this off the top of my head. I might be forgetting a country.
Pretty much North Africa to
Libya,
Uzbekistan, the Middle East.
Okay, that's a very wide-ranging Middle East definition. I was thinking more of those specific countries in the Middle East.
I mean,
so I'll just name them.
We could stop in the Mediterranean, go as north as Uzbekistan, east as far as the border of India, and west as far as I forget that Turkey. Although Turkey technically is also the Middle East. Yeah.
Okay, so I was going to count Turkey, but I'll just name the countries, and if I'm missing some, just let me know. So Turkey and NATO ally, Pakistan.
Technically, but
kind of a shitty ally.
Technically an ally, but they have
not been
at all.
In what world is Turkey an ally?
Well, they're in NATO.
They're in NATO. What do you mean? When? What world?
They've already, like I said, they've already sent out their navy to stand toe to toe with the Gerald Ford in the Mediterranean Sea in support of Iran.
That's fine. Okay, so
what do you mean that's fine?
That's
evidence that they're not
Muslim,
an ally. They're Muslim. Yeah.
So as I was saying, Turkey.
You're just gonna sit there and spurge and just completely
I
ignore
love the way
that.
he gets confronted with counter evidence and goes, yeah. So anyway, I'm right.
Calling out one thing
every
is not,
single
that's like saying
Every single
Pakistan
time.
is not considered an ally because Osama bin Laden was there. Technically a shitty ally, and also because the
No, it's
Taliban
not.
and
This is active. This is
Pakistan is
actively
not an
ally.
happening. Turkey has actively deployed their fucking navy to stand against ours. That's not allies. I'm not talking about fucking 25 years ago when fucking Osama bin Laden was in charge of the Taliban.
It wasn't even 20.
Bro,
Osama bin Laden was never in charge with the Taliban.
I knew you'd pick up on that. Good.
bro, your
You're paying
geopolitics is
attention.
10 years out of date.
Is anybody
I just
streaming
start
right
and then I continue to go.
It's 3:00. You guys know I turn into a pumpkin at 3. So, what? It's been a good show. I mean, it's been a random show, but it's been a good show. I need somewhere to send you guys. Although, I mean, I don't have to.
Well, send them to me or me because Grumple's not even alive right now. Are you live right now, Barry?
Me? No, I'm not live.
Well, I am.
Yeah, send them over to EOD.
All right.
Where's the link?
Yeah.
It's right here.
Throw it in the back chat, bud. It's been a good conversation. Random Independent. We're gonna have to talk more because
I don't really hop on too much, but yeah, whenever I'm on again, if you guys are bullshitting, I might pop on and talk some shit.
Like 5 shows a week, so but not always this stuff. So
No, I don't even. Let me just make sure I'm following.
I can't
Is this
chat
you
in the back
unreasonable,
chat.
man?
But it'd have to be my Discord.
click where it says private and
Oh, my bad. Yeah. I don't know, man. There's 2 chats in there.
You know-
I'm not used to that.
I remember my first day on the internet.
Shut the fuck up. It's in there.
They
now.
said they
It's
want
my
EOD's
Discord.
link in the chat.
Yeah, the
Well,
link.
you're streaming from Discord.
No, I'm not streaming from Discord. But if we want to continue the conversation, that's where it's gonna have to happen.
Oh, I'm not going to Discord. Respectfully, appreciate it though.
No, we're gonna have to.
That's the live stream right there.
Okay, yeah, I got to send everybody to your live stream so you have some people.
Hell yeah.
All right, that's much better.
Okay.
All right, man.
Can you
Guys,
just post a link in the regular chat. They wanted it.
I'll once I hit
He's gonna be-
save, it'll just everybody will forward over there. Although the link is in the back chat for people on the stage because it sometimes won't send if you're in the thing, it won't send you. Let me just do my quick outro here. Later, everybody. It has been a great show today. I have really enjoyed the back and forth. I'm unhappy a little bit that Ryan pieced out, and that's that was unfortunate. But yeah, we'll have everybody back. Teriak, good to see you, man. It's been a long time. I thought
Been a while, bro.
I've said some unkind things about you, and I thought you were pissed about it. And I was like, well, he'll show up one day.
Yeah, agreed. You know me. I've got like titanium skin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, at least I'm honest, right? Like I'm not gonna tell you, I'm not gonna be like.
That's the thing. But like, that's the thing with like friends that are close or like people that are close. It's like if they're willing to slander me, all this kind of shit. Do you know what I mean? It's like when I ask for the truth, I know I'm going to get the truth. You know what I'm saying?
I just said that I feel like that you stagnated in your debate technique there for a while, to where you were just yelling at people and strawmanning a lot, and I hope that you kind of got out of that rut. So.
Well, hey, everyone's a critique. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's a debater. Everyone's a critique.
That's the unkind thing I said about you, sir.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
So I said, I unfortunately I don't have a lot of filters, so I just say exactly what the fuck I mean. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to go over to EOD's stream. You guys are going to enjoy it there. It's nice. It's clean. I hear the restrooms are functional. In the meantime, I've got to get the fuck out of here. So as always, be cool, wear glasses if you need them, and get the fuck off my lawn.
All right. If anybody wants to continue the conversation, I put my Discord back there. So. Thanks for the raid, Grid.
I'm going to close this window, and there you go. All right.
Where's the StreamYard? Is there not a thing to join?
I don't do StreamYard. I do Discord and OBS.
All right. Well, Y'all have a good day. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
Y'all be
Appreciate
safe
it,
and all that good stuff.
That's what you gotta do. You gotta do flat cam.
Yeah.
Because he's a weirdo. Anyway,
right.
I'm gonna close this down, guys. You have a good rest of your day.
You too, man. Thanks. Cheers.
Yeah.
Does this sound boring to you like this? I think it sounds boring like this. We're gonna unboring this. Where do you go? Come here, precious.
And he said something about the whale in Pinocchio.
Did you laugh in front of the Shillings?
Of course not. I was mortified. You know, my mother's heavy set.
Yeah, I stopped
Mortified.
it right away. So, what we're dealing with here is...
Utz is going to lose Jimmy, and we're going to lose Utz.
Has anyone tried to save this yet? Besides Leopold and Loeb over here?
Can't get the Shillings on the phone. Someone needs to talk to Jimmy.
Well, I'm sure he'll feel real bad about it tonight and give her a call.
Huh? Can you work him over?
Jimmy Barrett is a known quantity.
Don's going
Just
to
work
fix
him
it.
over.
Fix what, exactly?
Fix this mess that was made because Freddie got him drunk.
Come on. Cosgrove should have told me they were here. I would have never let her near that set.
I did. I told Lois. I took them by here, but you were out.
I'm going to talk to the Shillings, then I'm going to explain the facts of life to Jimmy.
Where were you?
At the printers.
You should tell your girl that. Give me a cigarette.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you get your own? We have a whole storeroom full of Luckies.
Because I don't smoke.
Mr. and Mrs. Schilling made a surprise visit to the set, and they got the full Jimmy Barrett treatment.
How bad was it?
Called her the Hindenburg.
And he said something about the whale in Pinocchio.
Did you laugh in front of the Shillings?
Of course not. I was mortified. You know, my mother's heavy set.
Yeah, I stopped it right away. So, what we're dealing with here is...
Utz is going to lose Jimmy, and we're going to lose Utz.
Has anyone tried to save...
Oh, loudy. What's going on over there? Oh, don't want none of that.
If DHS is communicating to the American people there's 1,000 violent protesters, you're telling me 1,000 violent protesters in 2025 in Los Angeles destroyed 5...
And not that. Do not want. can't keep it pushing this far. EOD is live. Go watch him. I might even be there.